All right, well, let's get started. Thank you all for attending. This is Gregg Towsley from Grow Plumbing, and today we're discussing Google Home Services. Our firm specializes in advertising and marketing specific to plumbing and HVAC companies. So before we get into the details, a couple of housekeeping items. There's no need to take notes. The slide, the video, all the notes and the checklist will be provided to everybody in a nice, easy digital format to download and to view. And everything also will be up on our YouTube channel. So let's get into it. I'm super excited about this topic. It's a game-changing program from Google. And if you can see my screen here, we'll discuss today's agenda. You should be able to see the agenda over here on the left side of my screen. If not, just type a quick little note in the chat box. Also, for today's meeting, it is a live meeting, so feel free to ask any questions. Type them in the chat box. I'll also open it up for any questions and a discussion there at the end. If you don't hear me or you don't see me, or if we lose connection, just drop a little note in the checkbox and I'll be sure to pay attention to those. So also in this interactive session, please do ask questions. I know it's a new topic. There's not a lot of information out there, so feel free to hit me up with any questions and we'll definitely get to those. Right now, I have 3 clients that we've onboarded onto Google Home Services. I've had multiple visits to Google headquarters in Mountain View for meetings on Google Home Services, and I know the team pretty well. And our clients are seeing amazing results, and this is why I'm calling it game-changing program from Google. We're seeing a low cost per lead and high conversion rates, which if you look at both those, it's going to save our clients money in advertising dollars. So today we'll cover what Google Home Services is. Sometimes it's called Google Home Services Ads, Google Guarantee, or GHS for short, but today we're going to call it Google Home Services. So what companies and industries is this program eligible for, and what are the geographies that are live in this program, and what geographies are launching next? So we'll cover that. How does the program work? We'll get into details. We're going to cover the pricing for the program and how Google charges for this. We'll also talk about the onboarding process and how to prepare if Google Home Services is coming to your area, and eventually it will be there. We just don't know how long it's going to take to get there. Lastly, I'll answer all of your questions on Google Home Services, and if I don't answer your question, or if I don't know the answer to your question, or none of my colleagues do, we'll find out the answer and get back to you in a quick time frame. Moving right along, let's discuss a little bit about the background. So Google Home Service is a pay-per-lead program from Google. So you as an advertiser, you only pay for qualified leads. We're seeing that the cost per lead is anywhere between $17 and $25. The cost is a fixed cost, at least for a certain period of time, and that same fixed cost is the same for each company in the specific geography. And the fixed cost is based upon geography. For example, the cost per lead for the eligible and qualified companies in Los Angeles is $23. So it's $23 for all the companies that are part of Google Home Services in that geography. We'll discuss the difference between some of the other geographies here. So originally, it was launched as a replacement for Google AdWords pay-per-click program. Although at this stage, it's not a replacement for AdWords pay-per-click. It's actually a complement to pay-per-click, and Google Home Services is always showing above the pay-per-click ads, which we'll get into more detail. Also, according to Google, this is their terminology. This is a program which is a beta program and invitation only. This program started back in 2005 when it first came across our desks, and predominantly it was targeted at locksmiths first and then plumbing companies. But now the program is live on HVAC and a handful of other home services companies, which we'll get into. So on the background, why is Google launching and growing this program and now more aggressively rolling it out to the different geographies? In other words, like, what is the problem that they're trying to solve? So in my belief, the reason Google is launching Google Home Services program is for essentially three reasons. Is one, to keep up with the changing market, which we'll touch on. Two, to cut down on online scams and to clean up bad advertisers. And then three, to create a better, more trusted user experience for their end users, people searching for home services based companies. So let's look at number one, the changing market. They're not the first company to get involved in the $450 billion home services business. Look at some of these companies and we can compare how Google Home Services is different. One of the older companies there right in the center, Red Beacon, who sold to Home Depot. For those of you that have been advertising for a while, you probably remember them. As a plumbing and or HVAC company, I'm 100% positive you're familiar with Home Advisor and Angie's List. Recently, Barry Diller's company, IAC, bought the company and now is combining Home Advisor and Angie's List by the end of the year. The quantity and the quality from this particular lead source has dropped a lot due to other people using Google and Yelp. So, do we ignore Home Advisor and Angie's List? No, but, as a business, it's your job just to figure out where the best quality leads are coming in from. The same goes for Craigslist and eLocal. We've really seen them drop off in terms of the quality and the quantity of leads that they've been generating. There are two new ones that are on this list. One is Thumbtack and the other is Service with a Z. Service, this is from the old Reach Local folks, if you're familiar with them, is a free advertising service. So both Thumbtack and Service are both free, and their business model is a little bit different, whereas Service, or let me get into Thumbtack first. Thumbtack is free advertising, and you only pay for when you do a quote to a customer. And so you end up buying points on the system, and then you only pay when you do a quote, which is kind of neat. So it's all free advertising. Service is also like that too, whereas Service, they're a little bit different, whereas you only pay when you land the job. And what's unique about both these companies, and their models are constantly changing, but this is the way we see it in today, is that they are taking the money from the client and then paying you out on the back end. So that's a little bit on Thumbtack and Service. We got to talk about Yelp, the 800-pound gorilla, and we could probably talk for hours on Yelp advertising, but basically Yelp charges you as the business owner to remove the competitors from your own Yelp page, which they create for you or you create. And then they have a model which they charge on impressions or pay-per-click or, Yelp guaranteed ads. But with Yelp, it's not very transparent at all. And the keeping track of the quality and quantity of leads is somewhat of a black hole. So let's look at Google and how these different business models compare. So Google Home Service is drastically different than Google AdWords pay-per-click. And it's also drastically different from their free Google Local Business Maps listing program. Think about it. Google's the #1 spot where people turn to find a service provider. Yelp is probably number 2. And Yelp is probably used more just to make sure that the service provider that you found on Google is legit and not going to rip you off. So Google Home Services is creating a better user experience for the user by vetting these service providers, i.e. plumbing companies and HVAC companies, with background checks, license checks, reputation reviews, and creating a much better user experience, which is a lower cost per lead and a higher quality lead for the advertisers. Advertisers being the plumbing and HVAC companies. So regarding number 2, to cut down on online scams, I'll let you do a little bit of your own research. Here's a great investigative piece from the New York Times, which you can click this link over here on the right-hand side, which is a New York Times article, Fake Online Locksmiths May Be Out to Pick Your Pocket Too. It's a great article. And you know, it gets into why locksmith advertising is a scam. Like I said, I'll let you read it on your own. And we see it every single day, even with plumbing companies advertising for a $45 drain cleaning, all drains clean, or a $79 drain cleaning service from a local plumbing company. And we all know that that is a form of bait and switch, and that, generally speaking, you're not going to do a $45 drain cleaning as a plumbing business. You're just using that to attract, customers. So the information here, which are the business verticals where Google Home Services is launching. This is the information that I received from Google last Thursday in terms of what verticals they're looking at, and then what are the geographies. We'll talk more on the geographies, but if you go along here on the right-hand side, you can see that in San Francisco, locksmiths, plumbing, HVAC, electrician, all the way down to house cleaners are all live. Same in Sacramento. I'm here in Los Angeles, and you can see that there's 5 categories. You saw probably in my email that Philadelphia went live for plumbing about a month ago. And here on the left-hand side, you can see the different business verticals that this is launching for. And they've just started to pick up the pace in terms of where they're launching. So I showed you where they're live from that last slide. Now you should be able to see a map of the United States. And here are the cities that are live. The ones that are in red are the ones that are live, and the ones that are in green are the ones that they are actively recruiting for. As mentioned, Google Home Services is a beta program and invitation only. Therefore, Google tries to recruit about 35 to 50 companies in a specific geography. And in that specific geography, there are also hyper-local geographies, which I'll touch on. And for example, if you look at Los Angeles, for those that aren't that familiar, it's a huge, very sprawling city. If you've ever flown into Los Angeles, you can just see the homes go on forever and ever. But within those hyper-local geographies of Los Angeles, we have the South Bay area, the Hollywood area, San Gabriel Valley, Santa Monica, the West Side, Long Beach, South LA, Simi Valley. So you can see that just within Los Angeles, there's a lot of hyper-local geographies. And then Google, they're recruiters. They call them recruiters. That's why I'm using their terminology. They're looking to recruit about 35 to 50 of these companies in each one of the hyper-local geographic areas. So for instance, if you're a plumbing company in Pasadena, chances are you're not going to drive all the way across LA to go service the South Bay area, when in the South Bay area of Los Angeles, we have many different companies. So take that into consideration as you want to be the market leader on Google Home Services for your hyper-local area, which then is just going to get you a better quality lead and provide better quality services. So on the green here, you can see that the cities that they are actively recruiting for. In the comments or the chat box within this webinar, see if you can type in if you know of any of, if you or any of your clients have been contacted with Google Home Services rolling out in your area. So here's just a couple of screenshots around what it looks like. Obviously, you can do these searches on your own, but I'll point out a couple things here is that this program launched in about 2015, so they're always testing what the Google Home Services looks like. And you can see here on this particular screenshot, house cleaners in San Jose. This was a recent one, but you can see that they're showing a picture of the person. They're showing what's called a 3-pack, so 3 listings here. They're showing the phone number, then reviews, and then a term called free estimate. So this is one set of tests that they're doing. If you look at these other 4 search results for electricians, air conditioning, home painters, and then the geography, we're seeing a little bit more consistency in terms of what the ads look like. Specifically, the ads are showing what we call the 3-pack here with the C reviews and then the big Google guaranteed little green check mark here. So it's always interesting to see all these different tests that Google's doing. So let's get into how Google Home Services works. And I'll pause for a second to get a sip of water and see if there are any questions in the chat box. And if there are, we'll address them either later on or right now. I don't see too many coming in as of right now, so let's continue. So we know what Google Services is. We know which industries are eligible and the geographies that they are rolling out. So let's look at how it works, and we'll look at how it works from a business as well as from an end consumer standpoint. So as a consumer, let's look at a typical search. And I chose Covina, which is a hyper-local area of Los Angeles. And because Courtesy Plumbing is one of my clients that are currently on this program and seeing some great results. As I said, it's a game changer, and they do a lot of advertising and marketing. So I did a search for plumber Covina. Over here, you can see what it looks like on a mobile device. You're going to see the Google Home Services appear here in the 3-pack that I mentioned before. You're going to see pay-per-click ads, which again is a 3-pack. We're starting to see some consistency. What's interesting is mobile and desktop, where they're starting to look a lot more alike, whereas in years past they've looked drastically different. Then we're seeing the map listing here, and then the online reviews, and then you get the organic listings. So that's an example of what a consumer would see, and we're seeing some consistency. As mentioned before, Google's constantly testing. So San Diego plumber, here you see the map over here on the right-hand side of the search results. This again is desktop. Here you can see the Google guaranteed, and then you just see the 3-pack with the phone number here. Plumber in San Francisco, here you see the picture of the owner of the plumbing company, and then it has a view profile, non-guaranteed. So constantly testing to see which one creates the best user environment. So as a consumer, your customer, the experience that they get is as soon as they click on one of the ads, they're brought to a page which looks similar to like this, and it says find the right plumber for your job. And anywhere throughout any one of these screens or on mobile, you can call the plumbing company just by clicking on the number or pulling out your phone and actually dialing that number. All the numbers, every single number within Google Home Services is a Google tracking number that they in turn track. That's how they measure the lead, and then that phone number rings your business line. So at any point in time, a consumer can pick up the phone and call, which makes sense. Google's also encouraging people to click this send request button, which is, that's essentially the 2 forms of leads. People can either fill in a contact form, which is the send request, or give you a call, and Google's tracking both of those leads because, again, it's on a pay per lead basis. So if you do click on send request, you get this little widget that pops up on Google, and the consumer types in their zip code. Again, this is where Google gets involved with qualifying the opportunity for the advertiser. The advertiser hasn't paid a cent as of yet. So you type in your zip code here, you get this drop down which lists, the 8 different types of jobs, whether it be a clogged toilet or, replacing an air conditioner, fixing an air conditioner. Then you have to go to the next screen, so you can select the pros. You can select up to to 2 to 3 pros. They call them pros companies, or you can just select one. Obviously, as a business, you want to select one. And then here's the next page, which you've selected one plumber. You typed in your zip code. It's an unclog a drain. How many drains, kitchen sink. Then again, this is Google further qualifying the lead as the advertiser. You haven't paid it all yet. You hit this, and what's kind of neat, I like this question here. Which phase are you in? Are you ready to hire? Is this just something that you're looking to investigate? Are you getting quotes around? So if somebody types in ready to hire, when do you need the help? Are you flexible? Do I need it right now? Is it 1 to 2 days, a week out? And then the person types in their contact information, name, email, phone, convenient, and then you hit send. At that point in time, as soon as somebody hits send, they send their project over to the plumbing company or multiple plumbing companies. That's when the lead is captured. And as the business, that's when you have the opportunity to respond back to the lead. And we'll get into some of the details around how do you respond back to leads. So that's it from a consumer standpoint. Any questions on that? It seems pretty self-explanatory. You can play around with that to see exactly what that looks like as you do your searches. So now let's flip over to what it looks like from a business perspective. And so Google, with this new service, they have a pretty basic online interface, which you can see. This is what they call your inbox. And you have this little hamburger up here, which has more features and stuff. But this is basically what the inbox looks like, which you have all the leads that have come in. It designates whether it's a phone call or whether it's a service request form. Not surprisingly, we're seeing the majority of all Google Home Service, well, not all, the majority of home service ads, probably in the 80 to 90%, are phone calls, people just picking up the phone and calling. And again, I say that's not surprising because, even if you look at all these, we have roughly, a lot of plumbing companies that I'm working with across the United States, and we're still seeing that predominantly a lead is a phone call. Probably 80 to 90% of all leads generated are phone calls, and then maybe 10% are people filling in a contact form or using live chat. So over here on the right-hand side, you can open up the lead within the Google interface. Even if it's a phone call, it gets documented here, and then you can, do the booking details. They just have a simple calendar. You could even if it's a phone call, you can get that person's email address and then schedule that job. Or if it all just happens over the phone, they give you a spot where you can document that. Google Home Services is also a mobile app for the business owner. So just like everything in today's world, it's mobile first. So Google did launch the mobile app, which can run on your technician's phone. It can run on your phone, and it's just essentially the same interface here. Whereas the leads come in, it's just an inbox. You can see the job details. You can click the book button, book a time that you can either email the client or not email the client, and then you have your requests that come in here. So it's very, very simple, which is sometimes not Google's forte, is making things simple. If you look at AdWords, it's a pretty complicated program. What's also neat is, as mentioned a couple times, is you're only paying for the qualified lead. So if you don't want the lead and you look at the lead, you can certainly decline it. Also, right now Google's pretty flexible in terms if it's a solicitation call or somebody outside of your area, or they're requesting the type of work that you don't perform, or even if it's an unrealistic time frame, you can just click on this little box. And it does say let the customer down easy, but you can decline the lead. When you decline a lead, you don't pay for it. Compare that to Google pay-per-click advertising, which you're paying anywhere between $13 and $17 per click for in the plumbing and HVAC area. Obviously, in other areas, you're spending more money than that, but really you shouldn't be. Otherwise, you're not running your pay-per-click campaign efficiently. But this is not pay-per-click, it's pay-per-lead. And you're dealing directly with the customer, which, remember, compare that to service with a Z. Compare that to Thumbtack, whereas you're dealing directly with the payment of that customer and the acquisition of the customer. Google's just charging you for the lead. So it's kind of neat. As a business owner, you can turn on your ads, turn off your ads. I'll be forthcoming. There's not a lot of features within this. In other words, there's no way to schedule your ads. You know, I showed you that little hamburger in the upper left-hand corner. It's just four simple things. You have your leads, which is your inbox. You have your reviews. The system does work really, really well, helping you aggregate reviews. So after you complete a job with a customer, and especially if you use the booking system, Google has this neat little button that says, hey, request a review from this customer who used Google Guarantee. And the conversion rate is much higher to get that review than pretty much any other review service that I've used. And I've used Review Buzz and Customer Lobby and Nearby Now. So that's a nice little bonus feature of that reviews. And then you have your profile, which you can update. And then there's a nice little customer service line, and you get a rep down here. And then you set up your ad budget. We'll get into Google, how Google charges, but that's where you can manage your budget right here. So again, stop me if there are any questions. So now, how does Google charge for this? It's a new service, and they don't necessarily have a sophisticated billing system set up for this. And so you, as the advertiser, you can set a weekly ad budget. And just like good students, we've been playing around with what's the sweet spot, whether it be $1,000 weekly budget or $2,000 or $500. You know, we're just trying to get the best quality leads for the least amount of money or the most amount of money, whatever it might be. And you know, they charge on a per lead basis. We've talked about this. Right now, Los Angeles is $23. San Francisco is a little bit more expensive. Philadelphia, I believe, is $19 per lead. And Seattle, I've heard that it's coming in at about $22 per lead, although that's not live yet. So they're really moving this around. They really haven't figured this out. Even when you speak with the onboarding team and the recruiters at Google, you know, they don't use the term moving target, but that's essentially what they're saying. We're like, we don't know. We do know that it's a fixed cost for all the advertisers in that area. So for instance, everybody in Los Angeles is paying $23 to the best of my knowledge. And that's the way I believe the system works. So they charge you just by sending you an email, which looks like this, and then, you know, that has your weekly balance, or has your balance from the previous months. And then when you click on pay your balance in this email, you just get a screen like this, plug in your credit card, and then make the payment right there. So how do you get started in this program, which is probably what you're all waiting for in this. So as mentioned before, it's a beta program which is invitation only. And so if you do a search on how to get started with Google Home Services on Google, you'll be sent to this particular form, or you can click this link. And this is just a form from Google, which allows you to sign up for Google Home Services. Now, honestly, this form, they're probably getting hundreds, if not thousands, maybe tens of thousands of businesses that are filling in this form on a regular basis. And it probably does go into some database at Google. But from my experience, and people can chat in the box otherwise, filling in this form is not necessarily going to help. Do it once, but even if you fill it in every single day, it's not necessarily going to help. Google is recruiting companies. They are handpicking companies to be part of this program. And as I mentioned, in the specific geographies that they're rolling out, and also within those geographies, they have hyper-local geographies. They're looking for the best 25 to, say, 50 companies to be part of this program based upon geography. So how do you get selected? The best way to get selected is to have Google contact you directly. One of the reasons why they're so actively working with partners like myself is that when Google is calling on these plumbing companies, the team at Google is quite surprised that the owners of the plumbing companies and HVAC companies are not calling them back, or they're not believing that they're actually calling from Google. And that's part of what they're trying to solve here as well, because there's so much solicitation of every single digital marketing company claiming that they're Google or partnered with Google or affiliate with Google or just mention the word Google. So as the business owner, it's kind of hard to determine, hey, are you actually really calling from Google? And so, but that's the goal, is to get handpicked directly from Google. So how do you make that happen? One is improving what we call your online credibility. And I'll touch a little bit upon what I mean by that. But essentially that's, making sure that, you're putting your best foot forward. So what does that mean? So it's having a strong ranking signal. It's having high quality reviews for your business. It's having backlinks. And by the way, I have a checklist here which I'll provide to everybody. Not one of these things that I'm mentioning right now on this specific checklist is a deal breaker or an influencer. It's a combination of all the above. So if you're involved with Google, so if you're not involved with Google pay-per-click AdWords advertising, that's not necessarily going to disqualify you from this. If you have a couple bad reviews, that's not going to disqualify from you. So, but basically you want your online credibility to look sharp. You want to have good reviews, backlinks to your website, having your website linked to reputable websites. You want to be active on social media, be involved with partners like your manufacturers, your professional organizations, your local chamber of commerce. Basically just looking at an overall strong portfolio that, you're a good company. And the size of your company doesn't necessarily matter either, because when Google recruits, they want the biggest company, the guy who has, 30, 40 trucks, and he blankets that neighborhood with his amount of work. They want the medium-sized guy who maybe has 4 or 5 trucks and has a good reputation, is always out there hustling. And then they also want the small guy, just like that one-man show who's been in business for 20 years and has got a good client base. And the reason is because if you think about it from Google's end user standpoint and what people are searching for, or think about it from your buying habits. If you need to, replace a fence in your backyard, you might just want a handyman to come by, a one-man show to come and do it, or if you're doing a big landscaping, maybe you want that, 800-pound gorilla that's, huge. And so it all depends upon your buying patterns, and that's what Google's trying to mirror. And then just the obvious stuff, having, good information, which is your name and your address and your phone number, having a website that looks professional, is mobile, obviously a contractor's license, having your cities that you service, and the towns that you service, be very relevant on your website. Tell a good background story about why you started the business, how you started the business, and that's how you're going to get selected from Google. So if you're doing all of those things, then you will be tapped on the shoulder when Google Home Services launches in your area. And then just to touch a little bit more on online credibility, the best program that we see out there is, you're running an efficient pay-per-click AdWords campaign for your business. You're active on social media, which is Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn and all those different platforms. You're doing email marketing for your plumbing and HVAC business, aggregating reviews, sharing specials, tips, all that sort of stuff. And then all that combined, it equals a good search engine optimization program. And that's really the perfect system of what you want to be doing to generate good quality leads and also to be part of the system. Here's just another slide of what your business should look like. On the left here, you see search engines, and you've probably all seen this before. And if you follow me online, you're familiar with this. You have all your online directories. So you as a business, to build your online credibility, you want to be involved with every single one of these areas. And your marketing company or your marketing staff or you could easily, build profiles and be active on each one of these channels. Here you can see in the middle content, which is, YouTube and Flickr and SlideShare. Reviews, we don't need to talk about that. And obviously that's important from your reputation standpoint. All the different social sites, location sites, and the whole idea with this is more content and more places is going to bring you in more customers. So any questions about the onboarding? We'll move right along to the process of when you get tapped on the shoulder and Google has accepted you into the program. Then that starts the second level of what we call the vetting process. So the first level is getting tapped. Now you're into the program. What is happening now, and this has been changing just since I put this slide together last week, but receiving a welcome email. So here's what the email looks like, and you can see it's from the onboarding team. So step one is completing the background checks. They use a service called Pinkerton, or maybe they have a couple different services, but that's just one third-party background check company that they have for you and your employees and everyone that's going to be involved with this. They want a certificate of insurance, and we can get into how Google is guaranteeing some of this work for the end user, but we don't want to get into too much details. Step number 3 in the onboarding process is to download the mobile app. They are requiring you to just click on the link, download that, log in, check it out. They have this training piece right here, which I can click on it. It's the Google Home Services training, which they want you to go through all these different modules. It doesn't take long. It's pretty easy. And then just create a simple or complete a simple training questionnaire. I haven't watched the video, but I believe they have a video for all of this now. Then you want to, actually I'm not sure about this number 4, but then you just want to confirm all this stuff, work with your onboarding team, and complete all your profiles, get that back to them. And what I've found to work well is just being super persistent. And if you have something on your plate that needs to get done, just get it done as quickly and efficiently as possible, and making the onboarding process for Google as simple as possible so you can get in this program, and then they're going to give you plenty time, fair warning that this is coming. For instance, back in October and November, we were hustling to help them get Los Angeles live and to get them all the companies up and running. We were told that January 1, we're turning this service on January 1. So we had all of our ducks in a row with multiple clients and helping them get up and running. And then January 1 came and we didn't go live. And long story short, they didn't go live till March. But since then, it has been great. So I'm pretty psyched. I kept this under 30 minutes. I'm available for any questions. I'm available to help you with onboarding. I'm available to make introductions to Google. And then obviously we do search marketing and internet advertising for plumbing and HVAC companies. So if you want to switch vendors, or if you have any questions, or you want a free consultation, you can just give me a call here on the number. And that's about it. I thank everybody for attending. I do see a couple questions here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the recording now and answer some of those questions after the recording, because some of them look like they are very specific. So thanks everyone for attending. Bye now.